Alright, next night here, now that our walls have dried, we'll pull all this tape off. This is the loose wall on the back, which we can set out of the way. Now what I can do is I can build the floor and the stairs and the elevator shaft over here. That's the next part of my project. So, as you can see, that's where we're at. And, I'll be cutting rafters to go across. So I'll make that, and I'll show you where I'm at with that. I'll get them set up, and we'll go from there. I'll have to pre-cut everything. That'll be a while. Okay. Some of you may be looking at it and say, hey, he didn't wait for us. Well, I sat things together. I didn't glue it. I actually test fitted everything that I scratch built pretty much for this. I did glue one section in place on this, and that was the wall hangers to hang the rafters and the two rafters on either side of my freight elevator that I'm going to use for my wiring for the electrical. That's where I'm going to hide my electrical, is inside that little freight elevator. To start out with, I built some walls to go down here. This will be for the freight elevator. As you can see, I got my electric wire here. We're going to get that put in. We'll attempt to glue this into place, and we'll get that set up there, and then we'll put all our rafters in, which out of my scrap wood pile. That'll give us our floor level, and then we'll take the coffee stirrers and I'll cut them across each of the rafters to give the floor look like we did down here on this floor. So this will be the next floor, so we'll get this all glued in a while. We'll do this little by little. Alright. Now that we're ready for it. Sorry I couldn't bring you along my thought process for the last couple hours of figuring out how I was going to do this or what I wanted to do. That's kind of part of scratch building. You scratch your head and say, well, what exactly do I want to do? Or how do I want to do it? I figure I'll get this in, and then I can go along and I can figure out the wall colors. I'll get the walls inside painted, and I still haven't figured out what color I'm going to paint the walls. I'll get this down in here. Come on, don't fight me. There we go. Get this all up in here. This will give us the illusion of an elevator, but a place to hide our wires. Is I'll be able to bring it up and run this up inside the floor joists. I can make it look like there's a little elevator shack there. Alright. These I'm probably better super gluing in than actually gluing. Grab some super glue here. Let's see. Let's mark out where them joists are. Get some glue on that. Glue that up tight. That'll help lock that in place. Alright, let's Let's set these out. I did make where my stairwell is going to go. This will be the plastered wall on the back side. Once I put the steps up and enclose them, you won't really see them, and then we'll have a wall on the side here. That'll go down in this side. In a few minutes I'll show you where I'm putting them. Let's see what we got for these joists to fit everything in place one by one. Not worried about them looking exactly 2 foot apart or anything like that. It's just going to be holding coffee stirrers that'll give you an illusion that when you look in the building, you see a floor. If you look in the window, you'll see some rafters, you know, holding the lights and that. So that's the main thing, is these will be holding light fixtures. Probably the gooseneck lights down for our lights to light up the inside. And we'll put product inside here so it looks like they're housing stuff, and probably some machine shop stuff upstairs or some machinery upstairs. And like I say, it's the W.B.Davis Company. It doesn't really tell you what kind of company it is. It could be anything. That was the main thing that they Thomas York had said in their thing when they built this kit, that it could be any kind of company you want. So it could be a cotton company making cotton. I could have cotton machines upstairs. Who knows? We'll have something in it for it to be. So we'll get all these glued in place. We'll get the steps over here glued in. I guess the first thing to do is got to get this beam on the wall side glued up. Get this one in, and we can get the width for our steps to the next beam. That'll give us our stairwell. Put a dab on here so I can take it off later. Just enough to hold it on in place so I know where it's going. Alright. That'll hold that for the time being. Come on, get up in there. Stay. A little bit more glue. Trying to put very little there, so alright. These beams will actually put some super glue on them. Like I said, I left this one wall out so that we could actually work in here. This way then I can put the floor in, I'll put the wall up. I'll have all my lighting and everything done. And then we can work on the roof. Because once this floor here is sealed up, that's it. There's no going back in. Alright, as you can see, they're not perfectly gapped. They're not meant to be perfectly gapped. We're just building scratch building a subfloor. We're not going for perfect here. Just going for something that's going to hold the popsicle sticks. It's going to hold the lights from underneath. That when you look in, if you're looking in, you're not going to see these rafters. You'll only see what's down on the floors. And let me go over here. Got all these coffee stirrers from the dollar store. And these things are awesome. They work great for floors. What we'll do is just cut that like that. And come along. We'll lay it in. We'll go to there. I'll mark the middle of the stud. Actually, that's not a good stick, so we'll actually scrap that one. Rail nippers and nip that sucker right off. Set it up in place. And mark the halfway point for the floor. Take the rail nipper, nip that off. Should be about halfway. Yeah, it looks about halfway. And we'll just go down to the next one. Do the same thing. We'll fill in the whole floor this way. When I'm done, it'll look pretty close to the lower floor. And just take my marker, take my time, and I will slowly get enough popsicles cut and a floor in. And I'll use the same thing for the steps. I'll use these popsicle sticks on top of the step runners that I made. But see, I get this all done, and we'll go through and I'll vary the different gaps so the gaps aren't in the same places. So I don't want to bore you guys with that part. I want to go get the floor done, get my time in on that, and then I'll show you where we're going from there. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, I got a little bit of change here. I had started putting the floor on these beams, but I really didn't like it. So I wound up taking some cardstock and laid out all my floor on it as basically a subfloor for my floor. And I've got this all done, cut and fitted. So that makes a nice floor there. Now I've got to stain this. As you can see, I did run some wiring for my lights, and I've got them kind of tucked up in here nicely. So they'll do for the little warehouse, because you only really see out of the 4 windows here. Then we'll have the upstairs that'll have our production area in it. But anyway, this is one of the stains I'm using. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby a while ago. It's a water-based, and I like it. It works pretty good. That's actually the color it'll come out. We'll get this stained up and so forth. been doing a little here and a little there. We've been getting ready to go to York. Got the trailer out. That's getting inspected this week, so we have next week to load it up and get out to York on Wednesday